Welcome back to Field of 12 After Dark. Heavyweight games all over the place, but not everybody came out of those heavyweight games alive. I'm the host, George Whitfield Jr., quarterback nerds. Quarterback nerds call me the quarterback guru, but I'm with real quarterbacks, and they are all over the country, and they're all fired up. In New Jersey, Christian Hackenberg, pride of. We are Penn State. In Dallas, representing A&M and Oklahoma. Trevor Knight. Some plush manor somewhere in what part of Texas are you in? Bryce, Petty,
well, I mean, east, west, who knows? Yeah,
east, west. Gentlemen, right out of the gate. So if you haven't joined us, we're football nerds, fellas, quarterbacks. So we like you to sip with us, enjoy the end of the day. We just came through a lot of big games.
Sips.
Right out of the gate, we want to thank our partner this week, Casamigos. Thank you. Appreciate that. You guys have taken great care of us this particular week. But we've been doing toast. Week 1, we did toast, heavy for coaches. That's good for us. But right now, it's going to be heavy for the toast of the week. And I'm going to go first. My toast of the week goes to revolutionary high school coach Kevin Kelly, who is now head coach at Presbyterian College. He had his debut today. Never punts. Always goes for 2. Never kicks off. He always onside kicks. Blowout win today. And his quarterback, Ren Heffley, in his first college start, 10 touchdowns. So this goes on the whole bottle to Presbyterian College. Touchdowns.
Here we go.
Your debut game. So, Petty, down there
love
in the
love it.
Lake Manor.
And if Coach Browse hasn't texted him already, there's something wrong. Coach Browse would absolutely love a guy that doesn't punt. I'm going to go a little bit off of the cuff here a little bit. I'm going to go with a player in a game that I watched a little bit today. OU Tulane had the Hurricane, was supposed to be at Tulane. They went up to Norman. Michael Pratt almost throws for 300, 296, 3 touchdowns in the air, another one rushing. My guy was taking it on the chin all day today, got back up, almost led his team to a comeback win on a shoestring tackle, almost like for all of us Texas kids here watching movies, like we know in Odessa Premier. But Michael Pratt, man, toast to you. What a hell of a day.
Hell of a day. Hell of a day. Let's go to Christian. Your toast of the day goes to.
My toast of the day, obviously the Nittany Lions getting it done, but more specifically, for those of you who are fortunate enough to tune in to Fox pregame, Joey Porter Jr., special kid, learned a lot about him, a little more serious. Sister has special needs. What that family's doing, that kid declaring his major immediately into special needs. Hey, man, hats off. Learned a lot about the kid.
Wow.
Proud to be an alumni. Happy he's one of ours. Awesome kid. Awesome story.
Wow, that was an incredible story. Proud parents sitting up there. Nothing like watching a former ball player, mom and dad in with the fans, and he's going through everything else fans go. Trevor Knight, your toast of the day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I got to go with somebody that's been around for a long time. And I was sitting on the couch this morning, and, man, I was looking down the line of these guys that are on College Game Day, which, George, you got a little experience over there. And Lee Corso, toast to you, man. Been doing this for years and years and years, and he's an absolute staple of what starts our Saturdays off, throwing on the Georgia Bulldog today. Getting the crowd going. So, Lee Corso, toast to you, man. Still rocking and rolling.
Love it.
Coach.
And if I can, real quick, George, a.k.a. Whit, our esteemed colleague producer, Dagan, puts all of our stats on the lower left side. I just happened to glance over as my guy TK was going. It has career stats, yards, touchdowns, and then a little blurb about Katy Perry calling him once.
Yeah.
Real quick toast to TK for getting called out by Katy Perry.
Hey, I'll take one of that.
That's real.
Thanks, boys.
That's real. Hey, so
Love
here's about that toast of yours, Trevor. This is back weeks. Our very first 2 weeks of this effort, Coach Corso received a toast. I think it's baked in now. So, Coach Corso, and those of you who know him, that will be another new tradition for this new effort. Off to Coach Corso and what he's doing for college fans everywhere. All right, let's go to it. We all just watched it with us. Two heavyweights. They met tonight in Charlotte. Kept saying national implications. We'll see national championship implication. Our reactions, Georgia, Clemson. Trevor, what'd you think on it?
Man, great game. Obviously, a big-time matchup at a neutral site to start off the year. You've got two programs that are highly touted, have had a lot of success in the past, and have played in these big games, right? A little sloppy, as you would expect across the board, but to see Georgia get it done against a team that has really been at the top of college football for the last couple years, that is an incredibly strong foundation to start off their campaign. And now moving into the rest of the season, they should have not only a target on their back, but a little confidence under their belt.
I agree. Bryce, you and I were talking earlier about the quarterback play a bit. DJ Ungalele, he didn't probably like we thought he looked. Now, is that him, and this is the first time he's at bat starting, or is that more Bulldog defense?
Oh, man, I got to contribute a lot of that to the Bulldog defense. I mean, when he came in last year, I mean, he played a fierce competitor at the time in Notre Dame, which we'll get into a different segment down the road, which buy, sell, short. If you're stock traders down the road, Notre Dame always seems to be up there, but can they play in big games? Who knows? It's not about Notre Dame right now, but what I do know is the fact that Kirby Smart and what he does in a recruiting room, what he does in his product on the field, those guys, their front seven is tenacious, it's gross, it's nasty. They like being nasty. Their back end came to play today. I really feel like, with tough, a lot of matchup problems, mixing up zone blitzing, things that just, in terms of a quarterback play, if you don't see that stuff every day, you're just going to take your lumps, and that's fine. Look, he's extremely talented, DJ Uiagalelei. I think if I said that correctly, I've been practicing in my room, almost like I'm singing karaoke. Hack, you'll appreciate that. But at the same time, I mean, they got after him, and so I've got to contribute that to the Georgia Bulldogs for sure.
Yeah,
Hack.
I think Dan Lanning, the defensive coordinator at Georgia, came in with a great game plan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to hold Clemson to 2 rushing yards, I don't think you can sit there and remember a time that Clemson's been held to 2 rushing yards within the last 5-6 years. So I think a lot of the credit goes to the defensive coordinator. However, thinking about this game and national implications and what goes on, I think you saw 2 heavyweights who are still in it for the college football playoff. Clemson runs the table, does what they're supposed to do in the ACC. I think they're going to have another chance at them. Obviously, I'm extremely excited because the Georgia Bulldogs were my national champion pick. Really excited about where they're going. They got UAB next week. Got a chance to really get that offense back in rhythm because Brent Venables didn't disappoint either. I mean, I thought that he presented some challenges, obviously a defensive struggle. But really excited to see what comes up the pipe for these 2 teams heading into next week.
Hack, let's stay there. You were big on JT Daniels. Now we all felt he can play. We all know there's a reason why he's leading a national contender. But your confidence in JT Daniels and how the game played out, what do you see next, and what do you the gold was for him tonight getting in on a neutral site.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like I was getting at, is defensively, Clemson also showed up. I mean, they did a great job, but JT managed the game well. He ultimately didn't lose it for his team. He kept them in it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, a win's a win, right? And I think that shows some grit and shows some toughness. Did he put up these ridiculous Heisman numbers? No. But like I said, a win's a win, and a win on that stage against a team of that caliber with Clemson, I think that puts a lot of kudos to him. And I think moving forward for his confidence, like I was saying, they got UAB next week. Should be a great chance for him to really get in a rhythm offensively and kind of move on from where they were at this week in terms of the defensive struggle going back and forth, and being able to do some things offensively, put up some numbers, get some confidence heading into the meat of that SEC schedule, which is going to be tough for them. And like I said last week, you know, if they win their division, you know, they got a juggernaut in Bama who showed up today, and if they can get that win, you know, they're on track for where they want to be. But I think today said a lot in terms of the overall team performance defensively, and then being able to build confidence throughout the regular season schedule offensively, and really gear up for that.
Now, so Bryce and Trevor, there's got to be so much grumbling and belly aching on bar stools around the country that just watched this game. 10-3, damn, I wanted to see 35-31 and this. But you guys know, Hack, you know, stepping out in games like this, sometimes it's your job to make plays. Sometimes it's your job to mitigate damage and prevent bad plays. So when you see JT Daniels really only threw for like 130, great job with ball security. What like can you share with fans why it really was an incredible performance, even though the numbers don't bear it? And really with DJ too, like, yeah, the numbers were smaller and the points were smaller, but the two offenses weren't the best units on the field. Can you walk our guys at the bar and the that are going to be going back and forth at the hair salons this week about how the game was, you know, why it was beautiful?
Yep. Yeah, I'll start there. You know, if you look at the season, most of the time we're so used to that tune-up game, right? You guy comes out, you're playing a team that's much less caliber than you are. So you go up, you put up these huge numbers. That's how you get on these Heisman lists and everything else to kind of start your campaign. I look at this as a playoff game. If your team's playing in the playoff, it doesn't matter what the score is at the end of the day. You're going to the national championship, right? That's what today was for both Georgia and Clemson, was hey, I know it's week one. We don't have our feet wet yet, but the winner of this game is setting themselves up for the long term. They'll go play UAB and whoever else they have on the schedule next week. They'll put up big numbers and a lot of points. But to play the game like they did today, gritty, passionate, defensive football, mitigating horrible mistakes that are going to cost you the game in JT Daniels, right? I mean, he had the one pick, but to get out of there with a win, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, like you said, George.
Eddie?
Yeah, I love it, because the thing is, man, you're not going to pay for pay-per-view when it's, you know, Mike Tyson versus Bryce Petty. You want to watch Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. Right. And so these games,
I would pay a lot.
Well, you know what? As much as I appreciate you guys' sentiment in that, I know that there's intention behind that just to get my ass knocked out. And I don't appreciate that as much. But the fact of the matter is, people want to see heavyweights fight heavyweights. That's why these games, open and kickoff, are so good. It's so good for college football, because you can't be scared to put your schedule and wins up against you know, the national implications that are down the road. Sure, Alabama can go play, you know, Helen Keller State for, you know, and pay them $2 million to come into Tuscaloosa and get the kick kicked out of them. But man, that's not fun to watch, right? They want to go, and that's why Alabama's done what they've done. That strength of schedule has kind of come up year in and year out, making them the number one case, really every year. What we've come to know is an Alabama that'll play the number 14 team in the country in Miami and beat them 41-3, just stop them. What those guys do is what everybody should do. But the fact of the matter is that's hard. That's really hard to do, to come in there with a new face, with DJ. Again, and what we saw, I think, this week on a grander scale is the fact that everybody is really falling victim to a year and a half of not really playing full-on game football, with all 22 dudes going out there to really stroke it and play. So, I love this in college football. And to the fan that truly does love college football, I don't think it really matters if it's 10-3. 50-3 or 50-49. I think it's just fun to watch guys go out, put it all out there, and especially for their college and their colors.
Well, let's go to Army, who the world knows as Alabama football. Let's go to the Roman Army, but first, let's raise a glass to Hack's recognition of Coach Dan Lanning, defensive coordinator at Georgia. I will obviously get statistics, and somebody's going to shoot this in. 2 yards rushing for any top 25 team. Like, whoever got held to 2 yards rushing, especially a team that really already has a seat at the national championship in a lot of people's minds. Thanks, sir. Your assistants.
Yeah.
This is for you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And executing. Anybody can sit on a board and write X's and O's. If you execute your players, it's a beautiful thing.
A beautiful thing.
Put them in a
Let's
position
talk
to be
about
successful.
Let's talk about another beautiful thing. I remember, honestly, as a kid, we were talking about Tyson, and I'm sitting there with my cousins and my uncles and everybody all packed in. Look at this kind of small TV now that I think about it. And you watch somebody get taken off and you jump like in all this exhilaration. And it happened within 45 seconds. It kind of felt like that this afternoon. Miami and Alabama decided to meet up, and it was 3 touchdowns. They were up 3 touchdowns way through quarter. And there was no real place that Miami could turn to, which was, it was both shocking, but it was also like, okay, this is why we talk about them so much. Bryce, when you were watching this game, is there a way to get through that front line of the Rome? Are they really invincible? And we're talking about Alabama and who's going to play them in the championship.
I'm gonna go real quick and say it's the latter, man. I think it's Alabama's to lose. I mean, that what Saban does not only week in, week out, but just year in, year out. And Saban kind of talked about it before this game in an interview when he said 25% of his team has changed. I think it's probably more than that because of how many guys they put in the league. It is a next man up scenario with those guys, and what they do specifically, to your point, on the front seven is ridiculous. Those guys are animals. They're men amongst boys. The Roman Army is a great representation of what those dudes are, especially if you're a history buff out there, just because of what it meant to be kind of faced up against the Roman Army back then. It's almost like impenetrable. So those guys really on both sides too. It's not just defense. Those guys get kind of first look a lot of the times. But the front five on the offensive side of the ball, I think, did a hell of a job tonight too. But more kind of specifically going into this game, everybody was kind of talking about this being a group of 11 that Nick Saban can really kind of hang his hat on, which is scary when you're in Tuscaloosa.
Right. Hack, Trevor, they did not play. They didn't play Ichabod State tonight. They did not line up and go up against, MNMU. They took on a revamped Hurricanes that have a new culture. They have a dynamic quarterback there, although he's coming off an ACL, and they still treated them like, they still just rolled through them. Where are we going to see resistance, and what would you have liked to have seen out of Miami in their effort today?
Trevor, I'll let you touch on that first. I mean,
yeah, man, we talk about it year in and year out. Like Bryce said, it's the next man up. What I think is more impressive about that is, as you guys know, as competitors, if you're a top recruited guy or you're hoping to be, one of the guys on the field and you get beat out by a guy that's just better than you, which happens a lot there, at Miami, it's tough to maintain that confidence. So like you said, Bryce, developing that culture within that organization to, hey, that guy's gone now you're the man, and build up that confidence is incredible. So, I would have liked to see Miami go in and compete a little bit better in this game. And I know that's not even fair to say, right? I mean, you see Bryce Young go out there and just absolutely tear it up. You see the defense for Alabama really shut anything and everything down. But like you said, this is the year everybody's been talking about where, hey, Miami is revamped. They're ready to rock and roll. Alabama's maybe not as strong as they have been. They may not even win their conference. And you see them come out and just rinse and repeat the process. It's fun to watch. I'm tired of it. I was tired of it as a player. I think a lot of people are tired of it that it's not their school. But man, just impressive performance by those guys in the Crimson.
I think real quick too, just to touch on that before Hack touches in on it. One, he's got a great name at Bryce Young, but two, he didn't play outside of himself. He was just very cool, calm, collected, and he just did what he needed to do. And I think too, Hack, you've been in that position, hell, we all have, to where you just look, man. Whether or not Saban takes him off to the side and says, or Billy O, which would be really interesting to get your take on Billy O. Yep. But taking you off to the side and saying, look, man, this is your deal. You've been here. You've got $1 million under your belt now. So go have fun. I'll almost be more inclined, if I can, George, to see, Hack, what's Billy O like, in the room, and what do you think he told, Bryce before this game?
Yeah. So to get to that, I think there's very few places in college football where you get the opportunity to hire a guy at a coordinator position with the resume that Bill O'Brien has. He was a head coach in college football, obviously at Penn State. I had the opportunity to play for him for a year. And then the guy goes on, was the acting GM and head coach for the Texans for the past few years. And then now he's back in the coordinator role under Nick Saban. And I think that's a testament to how Saban runs his system and how he manages his coaching staff. Those guys are next in line for big jobs all across the country at both the NFL and the college level. I think it's a situation where Bill feels very comfortable because it's very similar to the situation that he came up in New England, where he has a guy who has a culture established, has an expectation level when you walk in that building in terms of how you carry yourself as a player, how you carry yourself as a coach. He has the support defensively, like you were saying, Bryce. I think that defense has an opportunity to be one of the most special defensive units that Alabama's had in the last 10, 15 years. And for him, I think he's benefited from his time in the NFL, adjusting to the new college game, having the opportunity to coach a guy like Deshaun Watson, and what he brings to the table. And then the one thing I always give Bill credit for is the fact that he doesn't stuff a square peg into a round hole. He's going to find out what his guys do well and put them in position to be successful and make plays and execute and move the football. I think you kind of saw that today.
Hack, quick question.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And you played for Joe O'Brien, and you were a young quarterback, just like Bryce Young was a young quarterback for him. How does he prepare you that week leading into like your quarterback test?
Yeah.
What is he drilling into Bryce Young? What is to him? The bus ride to the game, first at bat. I mean, you rolled into your debut with him. Bryce rolled into his debut with him. Can you just share with us what that was like for Bryce Young?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was getting at, George, is that I'm virtually positive it has evolved a little bit. But when I was there, like, he came in running the Patriot system verbatim. So Bill and I really spent a ton of time focusing on defensive football and understanding weaknesses and coverages. His like three things: numbers, leverage, and matchups. We ran the run game, we ran the pass game, we ran identification. So there was a lot on our plate. So for us to really be able to master it, we had to know what we were going up against. So I would imagine that Bill hasn't gotten away from that, and he has really tooled Bryce with the knowledge of the defensive side of the ball to be able to know where the weaknesses are, how to attack it, and so on and so forth. And that's where I was saying is I think today you saw a good little mixture of that newer RPO scheme that has come in since I played for Bill, and I think that he had learned from Deshaun in his time in Houston, and also some pro concepts that he has kept that have been his babies throughout his career. And when you have the kids out there that can run, catch, make plays after the catch, the offensive line, I think that those guys really make Bill's job easy. And I think once Bryce really starts to see it, because it takes a few games to really get a feel for it, but when Bryce really starts to see the defense and understand the opportunities he has, if he has the same reins that I had, he's going to really take command of this thing and have the opportunity to put together a really special season.
Scary. The guy already looks 28 anyways.
Yeah.
But Texas G. Bryce, if you listen to him, he does sound 16. Looks 28.
He does.
Sounds
He's
16.
got this. Yeah. It's okay though. It's okay.
It's okay. I'll tell you my impression of watching those guys. I was impressed with both. Bryce Young was poised and he made plays. It never felt too big, and he's on the field with real athletes. They brought pressures. They got exotic. They would drop 8 one play, bring 7 the next play, and he handled it. He handled it. Didn't force anything. Didn't let anything get into his psyche. But also got to tip a cap to Coach O'Brien. Really mixed it up. Third down, he was brilliant. I mean, and I understand he's out there playing with 11 NFL players, but you still have to win the game from the visor, then down to the field, and then they got to go out and execute. And he was brilliant. That 94-yard touchdown that Bryce threw with his feet in his own end zone, it was a wide open shot. It was beautiful. It was a deep over. He got him. And then they just kept him off balance, ran well, threw for 3-5 with a kid that just turned last week in his first game. So usually those performances come against a lower tier, not another opponent that's technically another heavyweight, but I was really impressed. Before we jump to more of these heavyweight games, we want to remind you guys, we want to hear from you. So shoot us your questions, shoot us your thoughts or impressed games, challenge us, go after Bryce Petty. He's waiting for you. In fact, I think to say something about his picks and his teams today. Let's go now. Let's go out west. Kind of a shocker. Kind of climbed out of that stadium there. Your alma mater got way more than what I think they bargained for against Tulane. Why was that, and why will they be okay going forward?
Man, it was a nail biter all the way to the end. As you guys that watched could join me in that. Man, Spencer Rattler is obviously the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. He did not have a great day. I thought he was making some decisions that were maybe typical of him. A lot of the times they work out because he's got such arm talent, but he had a little bit.
When you say making decisions, those are like what, Trevor? Like break it down.
He's got so much arm talent that he gets away with things that Bryce and Hack and myself maybe couldn't have back in the day, right? I mean, he's drifting in the pocket. Bryce maybe, I don't know. He's a pretty talented guy, but drifting in the pocket, throwing across his body, all the things that you learn about in Pee Wee football, right? That you're not supposed to do. He gets away with a lot of those things. Some of those decisions today, they kind of came up and bit him in the backside, right? So I wouldn't sweat about it. He's the best player in the country. I still believe that, but he did not have a not have a great day today. I thought Alex Grinch and those guys have received a lot of offseason praise on the defensive side of the ball. They didn't show up in a way that they were supposed to. You gotta it's served on a platter, right? It's a home game when you weren't supposed to have a home game, and you didn't show up like the home team. Hats off to Tulane. I know Bryce has some thoughts on their quarterback, so I'll leave that for him. But man, Tulane came in, they played gritty football, and they almost pulled one over on number 2 Oklahoma.
Yeah. Before we roll to Bryce, because I want to get Bryce's thoughts on our man here. Christian, you've been watching college football your whole life. If you see a number 2 ranked bug, game 1, survive an unranked team who was not only undermanned, but they were also displaced from the storm. We got to go back to that. They were displaced from Hurricane Ida. They actually spent the week at the University of Alabama. Coach Saban let them train and practice and regroup there. They're living out of a suitcase. Then get themselves to Norman for a home game against the Sooners. If you see a number 2 team just escape that, what does it say about who does it say more about, the Sooners or Tulane? And what are the Sooners if you're in their team meeting in front of them tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I think you got to tip your cap to Tulane, like Trevor was saying. I mean, they came in and, they executed, they made plays. They played to a level that nobody expected them to play. So, to me, you have to tip the cap to those guys. They showed up, they played, they executed, they battled, they competed. Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Raise a glass
for them.
Bryce Petty.
Yeah, but I mean, for Oklahoma, I really do think that, I think Spencer didn't play, to the expectations he had, but still was 30 for 39, still threw for 300, had 2 picks, threw a touchdown. I don't think it's anything to fret about. I think Oklahoma still has a lot of green grass in front of them as it pertains to making it to the college football playoff and continuing to build a resume that resonates with the people who make those decisions. So I think ultimately for them, hey, we got out of one. Let's keep it moving next week. Let's put together a big performance. They play in the Big 12. We know they don't necessarily hold defense in high regard in that conference. So, let
me ask you this:
we'll see what happens.
Will this be a problem for them? Their resume stacks up to 2 or 3 other teams on the eve of the playoff committee, and they're looking back and they're saying, okay, technically on paper, they all have the same wins and same losses, but will this almost be viewed as a loss? Anybody? Will this be viewed as a loss against 2 or 3 other teams? Say Notre Dame, Florida, and somebody else all come in with identical records. Can they point
Cincinnati?
Game 1, Cincinnati. Will this be reckoned a loss? Or not necessarily?
No. I don't think you can do that. You can't do that, and that's what's tough. But at the same time too, that's why we're on podcasts and we're not getting paid to make those decisions either. Because that's where it's hard for and we recognize it as a player. In 14, when I think we got kind of, I felt like snaked out of the playoffs as well. But at the end of the day, look, a win on Saturday is a win. And we've said that before, and it's tough to get a win. And the thing is, I mentioned this, I think last week, for OU, it's going to be tough because everybody has you circled on their schedule. That's just going to be the way it is. You are going to get haymakers left and right from people, trick plays, blitzes, schemes. Like you have DCs, you have offensive coordinators scheming for you all year because they have you on their schedule. Yeah. So it's going to be one of those things. And look, it's deserved. So you're going to have to wear it. But at the end of the day, to the committee and to the strength of schedule thing, look, and that's, again, just like we talked about with Alabama, look, they play Miami and they go beat the snot out of them, but then they got Mercer coming back. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things that what is your off-conference schedule or non-conference schedule look like? But everybody's going to have those kind of tune-up games. It's just a matter of when they have them. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, but a tune-up game, but still go. There's a lot of tune-up games that want your Cincinnati Bearcats. They took on the Miami Redhawks, quote unquote tune-up game, knocked them out. Alabama went and got with Miami in a relative heavyweightish matchup, knocked them out. There are some tune-up games. Everybody has them. You're right. But what happens through the game execution of that matchup? That's the big difference. Let's go to it. You were big on Pratt. Pratt, man, hats off to him. We watched him battle and dash and scramble, take shots, hit a couple big throws tonight that got called back. Bryce, when you watched him, and there aren't too many times, I don't think in your career ever did you go up against an opponent where you were the quote-unquote David. Like you had Baylor, you guys are equal to or favored. But when you look at him, and clearly he's leading the smaller boat, what did you see in his performance that gets them half a foot from having a completely different conversation nationally?
Yeah, I think so. And look, I don't know if they need to necessarily have that, because at the end of the day, look, what Willie Fritz has done in Tulane has only taken them to bowl games 3 years in a row. Willie Fritz. Oh, go ahead and toast to the toast.
Coach.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hack, for knowing your specimen. But at the end of the day, Tulane is a good team. It's not, again, to your point. I can't remember. It can bog or my rendition of that is Helen Keller State. You know, nothing against that. But at the end of the day, that's what we call it. But they are a great team. And what I saw from Michael today is in a quarterback room, just like we have here. You have what's called a competition. Doesn't matter if it's in the room, on the field, or against the other sideline. You have a competition. And what that dude had today was, not only was he supposed to host what would be the number one touted quarterback in the country, if not number one, maybe number two pick. Mel Kiper just came out with my man Thibodeau in Oregon as the number one overall prospect coming out next year. But you have Spencer Rattler coming in there, and that is a competition. What I loved about it is he gave zero explicitives about Spencer Rattler being on the other side of that ball. And that's what I love. So I think that one of the greatest things that you can have as a quarterback in terms of a personality trait is a competitor. 3 syllables, competitor. You want that guy on your sideline and throwing the ball for you. And I think that at least for me, what he showed me as a teammate of him at Tulane is the guy is going to get knocked down. He's going to get back. I mean, he took a shot. Me and Trevor sat there like, did you see what he just did? I mean, we were talking about Evander Holyfield just a second ago. My man took 1-2, and went back, was spitting up blood, snorting out of his nose, blowing into a towel, and then went right back to the OC and said, "Hey, I got my helmet on. Let's go back to work." So that's man. That's what I love. That's what I love. I saw a lot of grit coming out of him today.
You know what he reminded me of? I was sitting there watching the game, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, for those of y'all that have seen the movie Friday Night Lights, Mike Winchell is the quarterback, right? Dude spitting out blood. He's getting killed. And the same turnout. They come up 1 yard short to win the state championship, Texas high school football. This dude, like you said, was taking blows, comes up 1 yard short. But I totally agree with you, Bryce. I mean, the guy played gritty. He won his if he didn't already have the respect of his team, he absolutely won it over.
Got mine.
Not only for them, but for the Tulane faithful. So I'll drink to that.
Got mine. I love all these toasts, by the way, just so everybody knows.
To our man Pratt, we know you're out there.
Yeah.
Keep icing up.
Yes, sir.
Hell of a game tonight, sir.
Yeah.
Hell
Ice
of a
bath,
game.
rehab, and machine.
That's right. Frozen peas work. Maybe a frozen ribeye. I don't know. But oh my god!
Or a nice cold Busch latte. You know, put it right. Put it on the handy. Put it on the chin.
I'd have several.
No, the boys
and make sure you take a water break. For all you guys out there rolling with us. I know we're about 12 toasts. We ain't even close to scratching the surface. Get your little water break. Get your little water break because we're going to keep rolling. Up north now. We came out west with the Sooners. Go up north. A heavyweight battle. My dark horse national championship, which is looking a little bit brighter. We are. But I'm a hack. Let's talk about our Nittany Lions. Wire to wire. Nobody got breathing room. Nobody really got breathing room in this game. The game kind of just played between the 35-yard lines. It felt like kickers seemed to be in the front lines. Punters were on the front lines. And it was just like lunch pails on both sidelines. Yep. What did you see out of your Nittany Lions tonight that you either proud of or did not exceed this early on?
Yeah, so I think obviously with as much offensive changeover as happened up there, there was an expected, kind of dead period where you were going to kind of see they were feeling each other out, blows and blows. I think it was very par for the course for a Big Ten game when it comes to defensive struggles. I think it was 0-0 at halftime. It was 0-0 at halftime. BRYCE, I think, brought up a great point earlier in this conversation about how, college football comes in. Yursich at Penn State comes from a background of up-tempo, get on the ball, let's rip, let's run 110 plays if we can and get going. And I thought one of the things that was interesting seeing early is, they had a nice 3rd and 1 opportunity. They got on the ball. Crowd noise at Camp Randall played a factor. Offsides, miscommunications. So I think it was good. Ultimately, I know that was a point I was just trying to give a little cap tip to BRYCE for that. I think there's an element there. But yeah, I was pleased. I think Penn State definitely left some points out on the field. I think Clifford missed Dotson once or twice deep.
The deep ball.
But ultimately, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just live and die. Yeah. They loosened up in the second half. They started taking shots, but he's off his back foot, either hung it too much. He did get a couple of them. Yeah. But go ahead. But yeah, they did loosen up and they did start throwing haymakers in the second half. Yeah,
the one thing I was pleasantly surprised of, I mentioned this in my other podcast with JP, was Penn State's shift of mindset to their defensive front. They've kind of gone to a more athletic front, not as big as it was traditionally. I mean, we had guys like Austin Johnson and Daquan Jones when I was there who were big guys playing that nose and 3-tech. They just kind of went to more of a field to try and run with Ohio State, East and West, and keep it up. And that's what I was scared of heading into the game with Wisconsin being as big as they were up front and such a focus on running the football downhill. I thought the defense played very, very well. And then to Clifford's
point, buying that defense.
Yeah. I mean, I think Brandon Smith, give a shout out to a kid, Louisa County, grew up the county next to me where I grew up in Fluvanna. I think that kid's an absolute freak show, 6'5", can play east to west. But without getting on a tangent, I thought defensively they showed up. I thought they did some things that give them a lot of kudos heading into the Big Ten schedule and the meat of that. And then, offensively, although they left some points on the board, they did enough to get it done. They didn't necessarily hurt themselves. I think that's a theme of week 1, week 0. Can teams execute and win the game? A win's a win's a win's a win. To BRYCE's point about Oklahoma moving forward. So really proud of how they showed out and battled through that. And at the end of the day, won the last 7 against Wisconsin. I know Barstool Big Cat was up on them boys up there in Madison, but them the Nittany Lions showed up tonight. So
to your point, Hack,
excited about it.
To your point about the change in mindset of how you play your front four, how you recruit the front four, how you build up front. It took me right back to that Moneyball movie. You guys have seen Moneyball with Bryce. I mean, why would I say Bryce?
It's fine. I get called Brad Pitt all the time. I mean, it's crazy how many times.
Go ahead. I'm gonna get a lot for that. I'm gonna get a lot. Thank you. I'm gonna get a lot for that. So send it my way.
Golly.
Certainly not Bryce Petty. Moneyball with Brad Pitt, Trevor. Moneyball with Brad Pitt. He's going back and forth to the scouting department, and then finally clash. And they ask him, "Why are you going analytics?" And he says, "Adapt or die." Like really, truly. And I'm sure we could have pulled that from a scientific reference, but Moneyball is cooler. Trevor Knight. on this, like we watch games 3 nights, 4 nights. Heavyweights coming out as heavyweights get knocked out. Heavyweights crawling out of the ring, just escaping. How big a win is this for a Penn State team with so much veteran leadership coming back? Game 1, travel up to Wisconsin, equal to a rival. And we know how physical that they touted this as the biggest, greatest, heaviest offensive line they've had. How much momentum is this for a Nittany team that didn't have this type of response last year in their opener? And they're looking at a wide open Big Ten, to the exception of weapons in Columbus. How much boost is this to go 12 rounds, get the win, and come home?
Well, again, it's that foundation that they're building for the rest of their season, right? And it was fun for me to watch. I'll say that. Me and Bryce, we played down in the Big 12. We don't have the defense that Hack had to go up against every year. I never seen a guy as big as some of those guys in the front 7 of any of those teams. So it was fun brand of football to watch, right? Now, we were all texting during the game. Wisconsin's got some cats, man. Wisconsin has got some dudes that are going to put up big numbers this year. I think they're going to win a lot of football games. For one guy, Ches Melusi, is that how you say it? Ches Melusi, the running back for Wisconsin. That dude was pounding the rock and pounding the rock.
Clemson transfer. Clemson.
Dagan, let's see that.
Absolutely.
Dagan Hughes
is
our
that
producer.
guy and the way he's running. Tip of the cap, like you said, Hack, to the Penn State defense, man, for holding these guys to as few points as they had. It was a fun brand of football to watch. I think both of these teams are going to have very successful years, but certainly a very big foundational game for the Nittany Lions.
Trevor, let's go. Dagan, can you put the stats back up? Trevor, go ahead and walk through. 31 carries is a day. 31 carries. That's a day. That's not catching screens and getting a couple calls. It's on your shoulders. Look at the effort there by your guy there, Ches. I would tip my cap on Ches. And then can we talk about the very opportunities, even though he cashed them in. He only 5 catches and only a handful more touches for Jahan Dotson. He's got to see more touches, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime that you're touching the ball that many times, he's going to wake up tomorrow and he's going to go straight to the cold tub, right? I mean, he went through not only 1 but 30 little car wrecks throughout that game. Right. But to get 121 yards against a defense like that, I mean, he was pounding the rock up and down the field. Again, to only get 10 points out of that is a tip of the cap, and hats off to that defense up there at Penn State.
Before we move on to some of the other games from week 1, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners, BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now is the time, because they're offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable than ever before. With football season kicking off now, get in on the action by going to rivers.com today or by downloading BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years old or older to take part in this. Gambling a problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, can we move to a couple other matchups that were core to the day? And let's just stay in the Big Ten here for a second. I'm just going to talk there. There was a lot of good about a couple of teams, and they ran up against some buzzsaws. One survived, one didn't. Let's start with Iowa State. Let's start with Indiana, who played, and then let's go to Iowa State. The Hoosiers traveled to Kinnick. Hack, you've been at Kinnick, yes?
I did not have the opportunity to play there, but it's one of the ones I'm extremely bummed.
That's 0 for 2. We got Bryce Pitt, and we got Hack traveling up north, which didn't happen, And so you got to know your people. Awesome. You got to know your people. We got what's called a toast. We got what's called a toast, and we got what's called a toss. We're going to go ahead and toss one for my man Whit.
Okay, right? Let's toss one. But let's also get it back. Hack, have you mentally ever played in Kinnick Stadium?
Yes, through experiences, and it is a bitch.
Thank you. So we get that back. Raise a toast to Hack's mental victory.
My mental rep
in Kinnick Stadium.
Nice. The VR system works well.
So I'm going to back that up.
Thank you for augmented reality.
I actually coached at the Hawkeyes when I was a youngster. I was a student assistant coach, working to be assistant. It is a rat's nest. It's a snake pit to go there and play. The crowd sits right up on you. There's only so much feet from the benches to the crowd. A lot of pride, smart staff, great culture, and it's just a tough place to go in there and try to get a win, as the Hoosiers found out today. What does this say more about? Are the Hoosiers not who we thought they were, or is Iowa like just kind of just grass always there?
I think Kirk Ferentz has done a fantastic job at Iowa in developing and creating a program that works for him. You kind of see it as a cyclical type program where they're in and out, they're up and down, but they're always, when they have an opportunity to play on a stage like this, they never disappoint. They're always there. They always show up. And I think that's a massive tip of the cap to Kirk Ferentz and how he runs.
Kirk Ferentz, Coach Ferentz, tip of the cap.
Coach.
Yep.
Now let's go even.
But I will say, I think. Yeah, go ahead, George.
Go ahead, Hack.
Well, I was going to say, I think Indiana. I think this year for them, they were riding a lot of hype. They had an unexpected year last year. I think Penix was one of the things that I touched on, was the guy that was going to drive that ship. And ultimately, it didn't work out today. I am a big fan of Tom Allen. I think his brand and the culture he's trying to develop at Indiana is going to be special.
There's the stats.
Yeah. But I think, I think ultimately turning the football over, not completing the football, and not staying on schedule really hurt Indiana. And I think the momentum and the combination of the lack of momentum within that game and not being able to ride the momentum through the offseason that Indiana has had and the hype and the way that Penix played really hurt them. And when you go into a place where you have a coach like Ferentz who's going to be prepared and he's going to come out and they're going to execute like Iowa always does, you're running into a buzzsaw, to use your words, George. And I think that's what happened today.
And it might cost them. It might cost them. We'll see how they recover. They got a hell of a man down the line. First of all, let's raise a glass. Ironically, 4 quarterbacks on this broadcast. I want to raise a glass to a defensive back, Riley Moss at Iowa, 2 pick sixes. 2 pick sixes in the same game out of the gate. He jumped 2 hitches. How about that? Riley Moss, sir.
Oh, I can't wait to be watching that film with Matt Campbell, Brock Purdy. They got him coming in next week and said, man, my guy jumped 2 hitches.
2.
Wow. We're going.
And while we're on, and those of you with us live, it's getting down in Westwood. The UCLA Bruins have knocked out a team that won the national championship 2 years ago. The LSU Tigers. Chip and the UCLA Bruins have just knocked out the LSU Tigers at home. It's going down in Hollywood. Be safe if you're out tonight. Yeah, right. They ain't going nuts like that.
Y'all are getting paid.
On campus, they are. They are on campus.
Get an Uber. Get an Uber.
Yeah, get an Uber. So, let's the opposite of Brentwood. Hey, real quick, pass to Chip Kelly. Much maligned.
Chip.
Already trying to pick up his replacement, LSU. All right, Bryce Petty, let's stay in the state of Iowa. Strange words to stay.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the state of Iowa. A couple hours. This was the coronation of the Cyclones. And I know from our first episode, you said your favorite coach, or what you would have said if we got to the site, your favorite coach is Matt Campbell. Somebody I went to high school with. I love Matt Campbell. They took on a group of 5 or really a 1AA FCS team today in Northern Iowa, still quality program. But if you're Iowa State leaning towards and making steps and making waves at a national championship run, and you escape at home by 6 to an FCS in-state rival, which every Northern Iowa football player cut off his left arm, ear, leg, or anything else to be a Cyclone, and they lost by they only lost by 6 to that program. Now with your favorite, where are you?
Yeah, though I still like. Look, we got to get my man BRYCE Hall some room. First off, I mean 69 yards is tough. But we do have the 13 straight games with the rushing touchdown, which is great for my guy. But look, to your point, Northern Iowa sits there and circles this game every year as the first game on their schedule to say, this is our bowl game. This is the one. This is the year. Look, Iowa State's got bigger and better things. It's about what we talked about earlier tonight. Get a win and get out. I'm still on the Cyclone train. We got some hype. We got, this Matt Campbell. We got Brock Purdy. We got BRYCE Hall. We still got our dudes. Just come back to the drawing board, recover, regroup. Let's drink some water, get some IVs, and let's go back next week for a big, big matchup with Iowa coming in.
Trevor. So they survive. Just like we said earlier, Hack and Bryce keep saying, I have the win. Yes, it's early on. Yes, it's this. Yes, it's that. But we had another situation that out west, Oregon hosts Fresno State. Again, a quote-unquote tune-up game. Big deal for Fresno State. They circle Oregon on the calendar. They've been looking forward to playing these guys for however long the game's scheduled. Oregon's best player goes down, which also happens to be by many people's accounts Paul's best player goes down, and Kayvon Thibodeau, and you still, that one man is out, and you still survive with a touchdowns worth victory. What are we looking at now with the Ducks?
I think it's similar. I mean, it's the same theme we've had all day, right? I mean, you look at the stat line here, and could it look better? Absolutely, it could. But you get out of there with a win. Sure, they were a 19-point favorite, and they only win, there by 7. But, you're at home. You get your feet under you. You get all the first-time jitters out. First time being back in front of, fans for the first time for a lot of these guys that are on the field. And even if you were a guy that's older, I mean, it's a different feeling, as you guys know. Playing in an empty stadium during scrimmages, getting ready for a game, is way different than packing a stadium. So there's a lot of different emotions going on. Getting a win, again, same theme that we've been talking about all night. I think they're going to be all right. They'll find their groove, and they're going to be a good football team throughout the year.
It's going to be fascinating here, Hack, Bryce. These guys now go from a barroom, Fresno State. Pack your bags, and you Columbus.
Yes, sir.
Shoe, maybe.
You go to Columbus. Now, remember Shoe hasn't seen football in close to 8 months. The Buckeyes took on Minnesota on the road. They're going to be fired up. The whole state of Ohio is going to squeeze in there. And it's one of the few locker rooms that can walk out there and go toe-to-toe with Alabama. how do you gear up now for whatever's comparable to the Roman Army after you just survived a brawl with Fresno State?
No, man, I tell you what, it's probably a lot of what the barroom brawl was looking past. It's not the compadre with the guy. It's the dude that he's with, right? That we're always looking at. And so that's where I think that this Ohio State comes in. It's, look, let's just get through Fresno State. We know we can beat these guys up. We're all looking at ahead to week 2 matchup against Ohio State. That's probably and in my eyes what a lot of this was this week and what we saw, where these guys kind of, again, Iowa State's another perfect example. You got you and I, we got that. We're looking ahead to Iowa, right? So it's similar. It's similar things like that, and that's what college football. That's what you love about it, is the fact that it's kind of that any given Saturday feeling. These guys have to man, they got to show up. But at the end of the day, Columbus is no joke. 8 months of suppressed testosterone, estrogen lead in there. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup. It's unfortunate. I think unless my guys got deer antler spray on the reg, whatever to throw up on that ankle, I think Thibodeau might be out, which to your point, and what I think too is the best player in the country. So Oregon's going to have to survive without that dude. But excited about this matchup.
Could we quickly? Could we? Right. Go ahead, Hack. Take it, Hack.
Well, I was gonna say. I think Oregon should be calling PJ Fleck at Minnesota and saying thank you for their effort, because Ohio State was in a little bit of a dogfight themselves on Thursday night. So I think looking forward to it. The theme being a win's a win's a win. I think both of those teams heading into that matchup battled through tough games. Fortunately for Oregon, I don't think Fresno State is the type of team that Minnesota was in terms of physicality and beating you up and being wore down. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Oregon responds going to the shoe and how Ohio State responds after going through a little bit more of a physical grind, I think, is what Minnesota presented. But Ohio State also has a little bit of a longer week to prepare and to get themselves healthy and rejuvenate. So I think it'll be a good test for both teams moving forward.
That's true. Before we move to raise a glass, I think we just made history.
If we have to.
The first time, I think the first time in the internet era or color TV era that an analyst, which Bryce Petty is, confirmed / complimented / certified a fan base having both testosterone and estrogen. We are here for you. We are here. We are here.
Minky's out.
The diversity,
yes,
ladies.
yes.
We appreciate you rolling with us.
We are.
That's how dynamic we are. Field of 12 After Dark show. That's Bryce Petty, Trevor Knight, Christian Hackenberg. Listen, we want to throw a question in there, and this is going to come in from Megan Hughes, which is coming from the audience. We're going to throw up a question right now. We can keep. What team surprised y'all week 1, good or bad, from my man Jonathan? Trevor, let's go with you first. Biggest surprise this week, good or bad?
I got to go with the Oklahoma Sooners. I know I've got some bias there being an alum, but man, this was the year that they circled to say, hey, we've got the quarterback. We've got a better defense. We're going to run the table. We've been in the locker rooms of the college football playoff. We've been in those stadiums. We understand where we need to go. This is the year to get over the hump, to make it to the big dance. And they came out and just did not impress me at all. We talked about it. I think they'll be fine, but was a little disappointed in the way that Lincoln and his boys played today. So that was a big surprise for me here in week 1.
Hack, biggest surprise, sir.
So I'm going to give a shout out to 2 teams in the Big Ten that have been bottom feeders for the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Here
in
we
Rutgers,
go,
in Rutgers, hanging 61 on Temple. Greg Schiano. Here we go. I think that's going to be great for the Big Ten moving forward. And also Maryland pulling one out against West Virginia.
Hey, raise the glass. Coach Schiano, Coach
lighten it up.
Turning the ship around, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm excited about both of those teams heading into the Big Ten for the next couple of years, developing, creating identity, creating culture, seeing what happens. I think it's going to be good for the whole Big Ten.
Love it. I'll be real quick. Jonathan Coker, TM. I appreciate your question. 2 words, enter Sandman. I tell you what, these Virginia Tech Hokies. Yep. Oh my God, that would be such a cool environment to play in. 1, as a Virginia Tech Hokie, but 2, coming in there, you got the North Carolina Tar Heels, which a lot of us kind of always had as like, hey, if Clemson doesn't do what they need to do, here comes Sam Howell and the boys, and they didn't enter Sandman the right way. So that would be my most surprised team, I would say, in a good way for the Virginia Tech Hokies and a bad way for the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah, no kidding. Much respect. We had, like everybody else, had a lot of hype and confidence in what the Tar Heels are bringing to the table. I don't know if that's indicative of is that who they really are, or were we just flat sleep on some of the regional powers who have kind of been out of there for a little bit. Virginia Tech is certainly back. My big surprise, and I'm getting ready to speak on the 5 families, was the Georgia defense. I thought, with everything that we heard and knew about Clemson, one of the best receiving in all of college football, led by Justin Ross, an offensive staff that's always been intact. They're coming off of a national championship run, going back on another one. They have another superhero at quarterback who played a little bit last year, supposed to bring all these things to the table, and running backs galore. 2 yards rushing. Clemson rushed for 2 more yards than you and I did tonight. And that's saying something. That's Clemson. It's Clemson. You could line up against Chick-fil-A. They're going to at least get 15 or 25 yards off a couple draws late in the 4th quarter. They played every single down on it. So that was my biggest surprise. Before we continue this conversation about who we're going to buy and sell in this, I just want to let you guys know about the Field of 12 Media, a brand new podcast and a digital media network, college football, by the people who know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Field of 68, the Field of 12, do the insight into the game that we all love, from who loved it, lived it, coached it. Trevor Knight and Bryce covering the Big 12, Joshua Perry and Christian Hackenberg covering the Big 10. Yogi Roth and Ted Robinson have everything you need at the Big 12. We welcome Harry Douglas and Cody Sensabaugh in the mighty ACC, and Max Starks and Clint Sterner in the SEC. And, of course, we're here every Saturday night to be your source, your go-to source for everything college football after dark. Grab something cold, put a couple of rocks in it, sit down and join us. Check the links below for the rest of our shows. The Field of 12, where college football happens. Gentlemen, let's move now to a new segment. We're going to start doing the stock market. Who is buying? Who should we be selling? And I've had 1 week, but we did have a chance to witness an awful lot of execution or lack thereof. Trevor Knight, who are you buying or selling? What for us right now?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and buy the entire transfer portal. I am not a fan of the transfer portal. I was a transfer guy, and I'm still not a fan of the transfer portal, but I'll specify two guys. Grant Calcaterra, who was my pick at tight end this week, SMU Mustangs, and the quarterback, Tanner Mordecai, tore it up tonight for the SMU Mustangs. Grant had 2 touchdowns. Tanner Mordecai had 7 touchdown passes, both transfers. You're starting to see some true success in these transfers. You look back at some of the recent Heisman Trophy winners and big-time players at Oklahoma alone, in Kyler Murray, in Baker Mayfield, in Jalen Hurts, in Trevor Knight, who's the best of them all. And the transfer portal, I am buying you, and we're rolling.
I love it. That's a dollar in the jar. That's a dollar in the jar.
Yeah, it is.
What a curious sell from a man who won from it, who started at a school who's heavily from it, and yet he sells it. Trevor, hey, Bryce Petty. No, I change. Hack. A big buy or a big sell, your stock tip, sir, your stock tip.
Okay. My big buy is Georgia, and I'm saying it because they were my national championship pick, but I think they really proved to me from a defensive side that they can hang. If they can continue to do that week in, week out, I think it puts them in a position where the offense gets in a rhythm and they can show something. I'm selling the shit out of Indiana right now. I'm not too happy with how they. I'm not pleased with how they showed up. Like I said, I think that team was heavily dependent on momentum and Penix, and I think Kirk Ferentz put a pretty good blueprint out in terms of how to handle them. So a tough Big Ten with the likes of Rutgers and Maryland playing really well today. I think Indiana finds themselves in a much tougher position than they had moving forward throughout that schedule.
Wow, I love it. Well, I have a split buy. And I forget those stocker CNBC deals where they got, I want you to take your dollar, tear it in half, put it on both of these things. Go to your mattresses. I'm buying big on the Fighting Chip Kelly at UCLA. When talked about the Bruins again 2 years ago, pre-COVID, they just beat him on the national championship. Had a Heisman Trophy winner, had the hottest offensive coordinator since football was ever invented, the number 1 offensive line, and NFL players galore, and the locker room still loaded, and they're ranked in the SEC. They travel out west to a team that's participated in football, a team in a conference in the Pac-12. They basically just participated in football, not making a national championship. Pac-12 hasn't in the last 4 or 5 years. And here we go. UCLA knocking out LSU individually. Zeb Nolan. Write that down. I'm going to give you a second. Zeb Nolan. Who is he? His parents, they adore him. His friends, man, they love him. Trey Lance loved that he backed him up. He's a former backup at North Dakota State. Then he gets a job at South Carolina as a graduate assistant. It's a young coach. Been coaching up until about 3 weeks ago in South Carolina. Need quarterback in an emergency situation. Hops back in the mix. Now imagine, I got quarterbacks on this stream, right? Any of us could take off a year. Not just a year competing, but a year throwing, hop the SEC, and go get a win in 3 weeks. Zeb Nolan, big buy for you, sir. I hope you navigate through South Carolina. That's a dream. That's a Disney movie right there, sir. I'm so excited for you. Here we go. We have one last. No. Dagan, is that it? Are we rolling? That can't be it. While we have time, could we go back and revisit 2 big games? We talked about it here earlier. Tar Heels Coach Brown, the number 1, number 2 quarterback in the country, Sam Howell, took a road trip, took a field trip up there to Blacksburg. We all watched him. Did not come out on the right side of it. Tonight, I know you watched it, Hack. I know you guys watched it. What were your thoughts on UNC? They didn't seem to really bring their sword with them for the 4 quarters in a game that they needed if they're really going to be a contender in the ACC.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed on this one. I picked North Carolina as a potential dark horse to make a run for the whole thing. Did I really believe in my chest that was going to happen? No, but you've got Mac Brown, who's been there. I'm a big believer in Mac and what he does. And you've got Sam Howell, which I believed in as well. Man, the moment was a little too big for him. And at least that's what it felt like. And really neat atmosphere up there. I think, they'll figure a few things out. I still think Sam Howell's a really good player, but he certainly didn't show it in week 1 like we wanted him to.
Hack. I know Christian, I know you're bullish on Sam Howell. I know you're rightfully so.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
They also were one of my dark horses, just because of my my outlook on the ACC. But I think that's not to discredit Virginia Tech and the way they showed up and played. I think Fuente out there has been really looking for that signature win at Tech. It's taken him a couple of years, but they definitely showed up, showed out. I think that old defensive focus that has been lost at Virginia Tech since the Beamer days showed back up. So I more so a tip of the cap to Virginia Tech showing up and saying, hey, we're going to be a contender in this thing. We're going to push the ACC. But unfortunate for Mac Brown and his boys rolling in there week 1 and really getting kicked in the teeth. So we'll see how they bounce back.
Bryce Petty, the Tar Heels, I mean, let's just face it, they're no Bearcats. You know what I mean? Cincinnati.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I think you specifically didn't ask my buy or sell so that I wouldn't talk about my Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm gonna go ahead. We missed it on purpose. That's fine. It's okay. I still love you to death as a brother.
Take
as
it
a
inside.
friend,
It wasn't inside.
as a host.
It wasn't.
No, it was an inside pitch, and that's fine. I'm still gonna take it. Look here,
it was.
Trevor.
He just knew you were the
apologize.
Jordan Belfort of the stock market. You were selling penny stocks up there.
Dude, I will sell
penny stocks. Get locked up.
Penny stocks all day long on this Cincinnati Bearcat. Look, I really hate, Trevor, that your dark horse in your heart wasn't truly heartfelt. In my dark horse world, they are. I'm going to go ahead and throw a slight plug because my guys in Bearcat country up there in Cincinnati had their 21st straight home victory, 49-14. My guy, DR, that's what I call him because we're texting now, not officially, but we could be. Went for almost 3 bills.
Desmond Ritter hit him up.
3 tuds in the air, 1 on the ground. Cincinnati, like I told you guys, is starting to creep up because we now have this Alabama and then who? I'm still not sold on Ohio State. They kind of struggled. I'm definitely not sold on Clemson. All I'm saying is there's a slight, there's just a little trickle effect here in terms of the playoffs. But what I will say in terms of your Tar Heels, Trevor Knight, I apologize. I do hate that for them. They went into a very hostile environment that, like everybody else, did not have football for the last year and a half. Very excited. This environment loves Inner Sandman. This environment loves to have people come in week 1, week 4, week 10, doesn't matter. They're going to come out with Inner Sandman and light it up. And I think that, the tough part about, or really just the reality of the situation, that what we don't necessarily get to understand all the time as fans, to the ones that play, is the fact that you do have that turnover. Man, North Carolina, in terms of skill players, they had 2 backs that went to the league. They had a receiver that went to the league. Sam Howell is dealing with a whole new crop of talent. And so it just takes some time to figure that out in terms of game. I mean, you saw him. There was a couple times on the sideline, my guys doing the whole like, oh, you were supposed to go here and then, here. Now, did he make some, some I'll call it bonehead moves, and it's fine. I call them bonehead moves because we've all been in that room before. I've made plenty of bonehead moves before. My guy still has a visor, beard out of this world. It's fine. He's there. Still got the swag that oozes, but at the same time, I think that they're going to catch back up week 2 going into the ACC and be fine. Guys, let's not get too over dramatic here. My Cincinnati Bearcats will make it to the playoffs. Just like I said, they're going to be fine in Tar Heel country too.
Bryce Petty, Alabama versus Cincinnati. Either one of them through a one-loss Tar Heel team. So for you at home, thank you for rolling with us tonight. Hopefully, you got a couple of things to win that bar argument, sharper in the barbershop, or knock your husband out when he starts that little bit of ball.
Right. Not physically, obviously.
Not physically
or verbally.
Yeah, that'd be domestic violence. Correct. Yes.
That would be.
We have a hotline. We have a hotline for that.
We have a hotline, but we are here for the testosterone and the college football. For those of you wondering, you can see Bryce next on the E channel and at Geo. He's got a lot to say, and he's going to be on a few more things this evening. For me, Trevor,
right after the Eric
and Bryce,
Decker
you'll
show.
see us. That's correct. You'll see us next week after the primetime game, right after dark. Grab something to sip on. If a few rocks, get it, settle down, get your questions in, bring your. Hopefully, we'll get you back with the next show. For George Whitfield and the fellas, we'll see you next week.